Some of you are going to chant because you have books, right? Tell me when you're ready. 6:45. That's not the time, that's the verse. Ready? Pratyatnādyatamanas-tu yogi samsuda kilbisaha anika janma samsiddhas tato yati param gatim pratyanat by rigid practice. Yatamana, endeavoring. To and yogi, such a transcendentalist. Samshuddha, washed off. Kilbisha, all of whose sins. Aneka, after many janma, births. Samsiddha, having achieved perfection. Tata, thereafter. Yati, attains. Param, the highest. Gatim, destination. And when the yogi engages himself with sincere endeavor in making further progress, being washed of all contamination, then ultimately achieving perfection after many births of practice, he attains the supreme goal. Also you say. And when the yogi engages himself with sincere endeavor in making further progress, being washed of all contamination, then ultimately achieving perfection after many births of practice, he attains the supreme goal. Purport. A person born in a particularly religious, aristocratic, or sacred family becomes conscious of his favorable condition for executing yoga practice. With determination, therefore, he begins his unfinished task, and thus he completely cleanses himself of all material contamination. When he is finally free from all contamination, he attains the supreme perfection, Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is the perfect stage of being freed from all contamination. This is confirmed in Bhagavad-Gita 7:28. Ye shantavantagatam papam jananam punyakarmanam hidvanva moha nirmukta bhajanti mam judavrataha. After many births of executing pious activities, when one is completely freed from all contamination and from all illusory dualities, one becomes engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Om Gana Timirandasya Gana Gana Salakaya Jakshu Shinmilatan Gena Tazadishi Gurave Namaha. So, this verse rests on or presents concepts completely foreign to the Western mindset. The idea of the need for purification, that we are in a contaminated state. Do you find that advertised on the billboards as you drive down the road? I remember picking up Jayadvaita Swami one time. He had been in India for about 10 years, and he was just returning to America, land of the free and home of the brave. They are neither free nor are they brave. But he landed, and as we were driving from the airport, he became quite silent, almost sullen. And if you know Jayadvaita Swami, he's quite a powerful personality. And I thought, geez, I was a householder in those days. Not it was necessary. I could have done the same as a sannyasi. But I thought, I must have offended him. So he's really upset or agitated about something. And after about 20 minutes, he said, "Don't they know there's sannyasis driving on this road?" So I said, "What do you mean, Maharaj?" He said, "Look at all these signboards." And it said, you know, smoke this, drink this, eat this, go to some naked dance show, you know. And I'd become acclimatized to it, you know. But really, if you think about it, if you're a sannyasi or if you're a renunciate or if you're trying to be a transcendentalist, what is all this garbage? You know? They're just pushing in, and it's just normal. So the idea of becoming, the need to become pure, that is, we actually somehow or other, they have an aspirational goals. We have aspirational goals. They have aspirational goals. Brahmananda tells the story, or maybe Gargamuni, but the point is that Bruce Scharf, met Prabhupada, moved into the temple, called, told his mother, "In or out, my friend, we're not zoo animals." The mother, what to do? Son had joined this, their Jewish family, son had joined this bizarre cult. Immediately sent the cavalry, sent the brother, the younger brother, Greg, to retrieve his brother. Greg arrived on the scene, checked it out, called his mother, met Prabhupada, called his mother, said, "Everything's fine, and I'm moving in too." You heard the phone drop, you heard the wheels squeal as she peeled out of the driveway, drove from upstate New York non-stop, burst into Prabhupada's room and said, "You're all crazy, you're all crazy." Prabhupada, unabashed, unperturbed, used to the assault of crazy parents, said, "Madam, you say that we're crazy. Frankly, we say that you're crazy. Let's make a list." Prabhupada got a piece of paper. You know, when you're a kid, you do this, or, you know, it's the basic of logic. You draw a line, and pros is one column, cons is another column. Let's analyze. I mean, let's not be emotional. Let's be dispassionate. We're not attached. Krishna explained the entire Bhagavad-Gita, and at the end of the thing, he says to Arjuna, "Now you decide." Krishna never says, "Believe in me." Krishna simply offers us the process to realize him. He said, "Here's the truth. Here's how you can realize it. Now you do what you want to do. You've got your freedom." So, of course, she became convinced, because the long list of how we're crazy compared to, you know, we take nice... One man said to Prabhupada, I don't know if I said it the other day in class, but a man said to Prabhupada, "You're all dreaming." I was sitting in the room. I said, "You're all dreaming. You're all dreaming. It's just dreams. There's no Krishna. There's no God. There's no soul. There's no eternal reality. You're just dreaming." Prabhupada said, "Fine. Let's take your premise for a minute. Let's just think for a minute that it's all a dream. There's no absolute reality. There's no real truth. There's no next life. So if it's all a dream, we're all dreaming, why not pick a good dream? It doesn't matter what dream you dream. Why not get a good dream?" Prabhupada said, "Your dream is a nightmare. You're under all kinds of pressure, you're in constant anxiety, you're hankering and lamenting, you've got fear of death. So your dream is a nightmare. If there's no ultimate reality, but we're having a great dream. We're dreaming Krishna, back home, back to Godhead, we're taking prasadam, we're chanting, we're dancing. So even if we're wrong in what our concept that there's an eternal truth, if it's all just a dream, we're having a great dream, you're having a miserable dream." So Prabhupada said, even if we're wrong, we're right. Of the dreams, we've got the best dream. And then Prabhupada said, but what if we're telling the truth? What if there is Krishna? What if there is karma? What if there is a next life? Then Prabhupada said, then you, sir, are really, really wrong. And we're going back to Godhead. So, but the concept of purification and contamination, totally foreign to them. Here's another one. The Archbishop of Canterbury, recently there was a He's the head of the Anglican Church, the Church of England. And some years back, they had a new guy. So he toured the different parishes, the different churches in the UK. And he reported back, he was interviewed by the Times of London. And he said, you know, we've got 12-step programs, we've got bingo programs, we've got dances for the singles, we got all this social welfare activity. But where is our original message of sin and redemption? Where are we teaching that? So the headlines in the Times of London says, Archbishop says, give 'em hell. So, British humor. The idea that human form of life, in or out, my friend, we're not zoo animals. Totally in another world. So, the idea that the necessity, that they have the concept of a progressive march. What is the progressive march for the materialist? What is the American dream? Which has become, it's one world culture now. It's the Western, mechanistic, materialistic dream. Which Devamrita Maharaj points out. You know why they call it the American dream? Other than Abai, anyone know why it's called the American dream? Because you have to be asleep to believe it. It's a good mantra. So but they have the American dream, and it is a cumulative. I work hard, I make money, I buy a house, I get a wife and a family, 2 cars. There was a politician in America, believe it or not, and he won. And his slogan was, what is it? 2 cars in every garage, a chicken in every pot, and a good 5-cent cigar. That would be the success of America, that everybody had some little bit of 2 cars, a nice chicken, cook some nice, we know it's not nice in quotes, and puff on a nice cigar. That's American dream, Kijai. But there's accumulation that I'm standing, I have my little empire, I'm surrounded by of course we say fallible soldiers, they say soldiers, and this is success in life. So there's a progression with a culmination. But here a yogi is described as a transcendentalist. The idea, this is what's so essential. Everybody's into recycling. Well, not everybody, but it is and do you know that recycling is a total wash? Did you know that? I buy an electric car, I get a Prius, because I want to protect Bhumidev, right? I want to be a good, ethical, moral, green and clean person. Turns out that the carbon fuel and the pollution it takes more, it causes more carbon, pollution to build an electric car than a regular car, gas combustion. And it produces more, when you break down the electric car, it produces more than the gas combustion car. So while you're clean while you're running, the creation and the dissolution of an electric car, turns out it's a wash. It's just about the same. And the same thing with recycling. They put it on you recycle, use, plastic and biodegradable. They ship it all the way to China. All the diesel to run the ship all the way to China. Then they process it in China and they ship it all back as junk, plastic products. It's a wash. It's a net sum zero game. It's just, but anyway, I don't know how we got off on that. But, so you're sorting into piles. Recycle. Human form of life is also meant to sort into 2 piles. You know what those 2 piles are? Anyone want to get, don't worry, we'll still be friends. You get it wrong. Yeah, Prabhupada said Sat and Asat. What is eternal? What is temporary? Chanakya Pandit says, it's a great sloka, never give up the permanent for the temporary, you will lose both. It's a great line. Think about it. Never give up the permanent for the temporary, you'll lose both. It's a true story. There is a racetrack, Del Mar racetrack, where the turf meets the surf, isn't it? And so many movie stars, it's been famous since the 30s, you know, it's a, you know. So opening day, all the glitterati is there. And there was a rich, elderly rich man, let's say, but not that old, let's say 65, 70, in that range. Let's say 65. And, you know, people just go there and it's just fun. It's just to be part of the scene. You just go there with a budget. You're just going to, unless you're hardcore gambling at it. But most of the people, they just go there with a budget and they're just going to throw the money away. You know, they're going to look, but it's fun, and, you know, they go, they're paying for the thrill. So they accept that the price of betting on the horse is the price I pay for the thrill. And hey, I might win. So this elderly couple, husband and wife, they saw that there was a horse in the 5th race that had the same name as their granddaughter. Now the horse is blind in one eye, 3 legs, you know. Next step is the glue factory. But they thought, well, you know, what the hey? No pun intended. Horses hay. Let's bet on it. So just for fun, you know, the same name as their granddaughter. What are the odds of that? So it was, the horse was like 1,000 to 1. Not really, whatever it was. Let's say it was 100 to 1 chance of winning. 20 to 1. 21. It's more like. So they put $100 on the horse. And lo and behold, the favored horse tripped, knocked over this other horse. A third horse, which happens sometimes to racehorses, I'll tell you about it in a minute. The third horse decided, hey, I'm done. I'm not racing. And the half-blind, lame horse won by default. It's true. And the husband and wife, elderly couple, they won. It was like 10,000 US dollars. And everybody was patting them on the back. They were holding up the winning ticket. They were on their way to turn it in. And the old man was so excited, he dropped dead from a heart attack. And when he dropped dead, his hand opened and the ticket blew away. So 1 minute, the lady's there, $10,000, and everyone's congratulating. Next minute, no ticket, no money, no husband. What the? So we should never give up the temporary. We never give up the permanent. Never. Sorry about that. Rewind the tape. We should never give up the permanent for the temporary. We'll lose both. Ante Narayana. Well, that's the other thing. But at the time of death, what do we have? Samyayam. Okay, thanks. Glad you're here. Guru Nanak tells a story. It goes like this. There was let me just tell you about the horses. This happens with horses sometimes. Sometimes a horse decides, hey, wait a minute. I'm knocking myself out, running as fast as I can. I just go around in a big circle, and I come right back to the same place. Why? Now, some horses actually have a competitive spirit, but it happens every now and then to a racehorse. They say, wait a minute, I'm done. I had enough of this. The guy sitting on me, whacking me, and, you know, I got to run in a circle. I'm not doing it. I quit. And they'll, you know, ding, the bell will open, the gate will open, and the horse just won't run. And once they realize, hey, why am I knocking myself out? I'm not doing that. They're spoiled. They're no longer, you can use them as a stud horse, you know, for breeding, but they're done. Once the light goes on, hey, this is a real waste of time. I'm not doing it. So similarly with a human being, lifetime after lifetime, it's like Sisyphus. You know Sisyphus in Greek mythology? Greek or Roman? Sisyphus was cursed. was it Prometheus? Maybe it's Prometheus, I forget which one. Anyway, they had to roll, his curse was that he had to roll this rock up to a cliff. And he had to do it before the sun set. And if he got it to the top of the cliff, I think he was whipped. I think there was an eagle eating his liver. I mean, it's really a horrific scene. But if he got it to the top of the cliff before the sun set and pushed it off the cliff, he was freed. And every day, it would repeat itself. He'd push, he'd struggle, he'd sweat, he'd slip. The sun would be just about to be set. He'd be at the precipice. One last push and he'd be free. And he'd slip and fall, and the boulder would rock back down, and he'd start over the next day. That was his hell, every single day. Almost, and then slipping, and it rolls back down. That's us. Work hard, American dream, get the house, doesn't matter whether you're a bird. Have you ever seen those birds in Mayapur? They're expert. They make the nest, that hangs. They take the palm tree, and they bend the leaves, stitch it together, then they hang, and it's like a teardrop. It's quite a nice design. This little sun deck out in front. They usually make a little perch for them, So whether you're a worm, or whether you're a Brahma, whether you're Indra Gopa or Lord Indra, that's our situation. So we need, like the horse that just wakes up one day, we need to wake up and think, wait a minute. What am I actually achieving here? Never give up the temporary for the permanent. So that's describing here. Those are some principles to understand that wait a minute. Human form of life is not meant for piling up stuff. Here's another mantra for you, a bumper sticker. We think we own things, isn't it? Well, I own this. Well, I own that. Well, I own this and that. Anybody here have a house? Have an apartment? You think you own a house? Think you own an apartment? But what do you have to do all the time? The roof leaks, the door doesn't close, you got to pay the electrical bill, you got to clean it. It's always something, isn't it?
Fix a window,
fix a window. It's constant. Pay the mortgage. There's same thing with a car, same thing with a family, same thing with glasses. The other day I just picked up my glasses, poing, the pin flew out. What the, what's up with that, So we don't own things. Things own us. The more things you have, somebody get a cell phone? You got something more important going on? Okay, why don't you shut it off? Oh. I won't make anybody own up. It's outside. Okay, thank you. I was sitting in Prabhupada's room one time, in Detroit. And a man was fidgeting, looking this way and that, so many different things. Prabhupada finally said, what's the issue? The man said, I have a very important appointment. I can't miss it. I got a very important appointment. Anybody know? And then Prabhupada said, actually, sir, you have only one appointment, and you will not miss it. Anybody know what that appointment is? Can you tell Yamaraj? You look at your phone and no, Thursday that doesn't work. No, I'm not open on the 14th. How about never? Does never work for you? No. Even the Bible says, I will come like a thief at night. You never know when it's coming. So, to wake up and realize, rather than the dream of accumulation of things that actually own us. Oh, the Guru Nanak story. So Guru Nanak, he's going to some village, town, whatever. And as was the habit at the time, they would go to the local temple, and there would be some program in the evening, people would gather. So he was going to speak, he was the featured speaker. So one man told his friend that, hey, this sadhu is speaking in town and it'll be fun and enlightening and you should come. This man was very wealthy. We're not picking on wealth. There's miserable poor people, miserly, and there's very generous and pious rich people. So, but he just happened to be a rich man. You'll understand for the story's sake. So he said, I know these sadhus. He'll say, oh, sarva dharma pridyaja, just surrender to God. But he's going to ask me for money. I know what's going to happen. He's going to ask me for some dakshin. He's going to ask me for some money. He's going to ask me for something. I'm not going. I've had it. I know these guys. Just going to pick my pocket. His friend said, knowing the man so well, said, look, he'll only talk for 45 minutes, and there'll be a great feast afterwards. Coconut kachoris and samosas. So the guy says, okay, I'll go. I'll sit in the back. He won't notice. So the guy sits way, and the rich man sits way in the back. Guru Nanak speaking, very nicely, of course. Pravachan finishes. And Guru Nanak says to the man, can I talk to you for a minute? I need your help. And I knew it. I should have sat behind a pillar. I knew this was going to happen, And he comes close. Guru Nanak says, I need your help. I have this little needle. I use it for sewing up my clothing. And I'm losing it all the time. He said, can you just keep it safely for me? And you give it to me in my next life. Can you do that for me? So, you're an attentive young man. You look responsible. Can I give you a needle? It's an insignificant thing. Can you even buy a pack of needles? A single needle in India? You can't buy a single needle in America. You have to buy a pack. It's such an insignificant. And what is the cost of a pack of needles? 20, 30 rupees, which you can do the conversion into your local currency. It's nothing, pennies. So what to speak of one in a pack? So Guru, can I give you a needle? Just keep it for me and give it to me in my next life. Can you do that for me? Can you? Yes or no? You'll try. Oh, he's a surrender. All right. Let's find someone less sincere. Hey, Hare Krishna. Can I pick on Shruti Prabhu? Because we're old friends. You're going to say, I'll try? We got such a bunch of compliant people. Anybody knows. Work with me here, folks. Work with me. Anybody knows you give somebody a needle and you say, give it to me in my next life, it's not going to happen. So therefore in the story, the Guru Nanak story, the rich man realized, wait a minute, I can't even keep a needle for my next life. What can I keep in this life? So I became a little humble, not so arrogant. So my point is, accumulation is a human instinct, a progressive march. But instead of accumulation of stuff or apadis, the proper, as it's stated here in this verse, what is the wealth of a Brahmin? Okay, but what does Shastra say? It says that also in some places. But what is the measure of the wealth of a Brahmin? Austerity. Prabhupada said, what is the measure of a person's strength? Can I bench? There's a guy in Ripley's Believe It or Not. He can pull a train with his teeth. The locomotion, not the whole thing, but he can get the engine. Takes him a while to get it going, but Olympics is all, skill and strength. So what is our measure? What is the Bhagavatam measure of a person's strength? Biceps? Huh? Devotion. Okay, everybody's guessing. It's and they're all good guesses, and you can make a case for them. I don't mean to belittle. But Bhagavatam says, in the verse I'm thinking about, the measure of a person's strength is, Prabhupada said, a measure of a man's strength is tolerance. The whole purpose of Gurukula, well, not the whole purpose, because it's meant to teach so many things, but one of the purposes of Gurukula, prime purpose of Gurukula, is to teach one to tolerate the senses. To pushing to, Krishna says in the Bhagavad-Gita, so many rivers enter the ocean, but the ocean is steady. It means that agitation will be there. People think, oh, I'm going to take a magic pill and, ultimately I won't be disturbed. There's so many disturbances. Disturbances is the nature of the place. Suppose I give you, you look like an energetic, you'll try, and I appreciate that sincerity, but I'm going to, suppose I give you a lump of coal. And I say, Prabhu, can you wash this and make it white for me? I'll give you a brush. I'll give you a nice, handy-dandy sudsole and a bucket. Can you make it white for me? Why? What? Have I offended you? You don't want to help me out here? What's the problem? You look strong. You got some energy. Just scrub it hard. What's the issue?
It's not in his nature.
Or in the opposite way of saying, it is the very nature of the thing. It is the nature of the thing. You can't run counter to the nature of the thing. So Krishna certifies. Aham Sarvasya Prabhaho, Krishna, everything emanated from him. He made the whole thing. He sustains the whole thing. What better than the manufacturer to describe the features of a product? You read the ingredients, and the products, So Krishna tells us what is the nature of this world. It's temporary. It's full of misery. You're not going to surmount it. You're not going to get around it. So the necessity of purification, that is the actual goal of human life. That will be the source of my happiness. Krishna gives a first-class, of course, it's from Krishna, but a first-class example. Lust is like what in Bhagavad-Gita? What is it compared to? Lust is compared to snakes? Okay, you could say that you break the teeth of the thing. Compared to fire. Now let's study the matter. Well, we'll finish because I want to see if there's any questions. It's a true story. My brother and I, my older brother, who my father did refer to as fool number 1 and fool number 2. You know who fool number 1 is? Prabhupada said who fool number 1 is? A person who comes up with a foolish idea. You know who fool number 2 is? The one who enthusiastically carries it out. So my brother and I were certified fool number 1, fool number 2. We were camping one time. Crystal Lake, I remember it well, High Sierras. And my father had made a little campfire the night before. We're kids, my brother, my sister, and it's fun, you campfire and whatever. So my mother and father were peacefully, my long-suffering mother and father, were sitting down by the lake reading. Peaceful, sylvan scene. My brother and I, we thought, hey, let's start a fire. I was 4 and my brother was 6. So we started a little fire. No, I was 4, my brother was 8. So we started a little fire, right? Things are going on nicely. Then we thought, oh, it's getting a little bigger. We should put it out. Now, I had seen my father put out the fire the other night, previous night. He'd thrown some water on it. It had gone out, right? So I thought, well, clear liquid A, clear liquid B. What could the difference be? So there was a container. I couldn't read it at the time. It said gasoline. True story. I thought, well, hey, clear liquid A, clear liquid B. I threw it on the fire. Now, 2 things happened sequentially. What you're thinking of is event 2, the secondary event. Small fire, bunch of gasoline thrown on it. What is the first thing that happened? No, that's secondary. What is the first thing that happened?
It goes out.
It went out. It's an exothermic reaction. The oxygen was cut off. When the gasoline covered it, it went out for a minute. My brother and I thought, problem solved. It's a flash, literally, momentarily. And then what happens? Kaboom! Burned my eyebrows off. I was embarrassed to go to school. It's a true story. My parents see this fireball go up. Anybody whose parents, and I think you know this, I raised 2 kids myself. When they're making noise, that's okay. When they're deadly silent, that's when you got to go check. Whoa, man, they're up to something, So anyway, fireball goes up. So Krishna says in Bhagavad-Gita, when you throw fuel on the fire, does the fire burp? Say, well, thank you very much. Mesquite wood, nah, it was dessert, and go out? What happens when you throw fuel on the fire? It gets bigger. What happens when you throw on more fire? More fuel. By throwing fuel on the fire, assuming you don't overwhelm the whole thing, but throwing fuel on the fire, does the fire ever go out? Why should we think by titillating, by satisfying the senses, they're going to be pacified and stop agitating us? Where's the logic in that? Krishna says, burns like fire, never satisfied. That's, if people the whole Western consumer society would collapse if they understood that one mantra. If we the Gurukula purpose is to teach one to tolerate. Just tolerate. There's so many problems. I mean, we're not talking about being, masochistic or, what is austerities that, burn the body. We're not talking about that kind of thing. But, so, in summation, well, I guess to sum up, what else did I wanted to say? Because I'm looking at the time factor. So in this verse, it's giving the standard practice. First, we talk some principles. The need to understand purification, the need to understand that permanence and impermanence, sat and asat. So those are principles. Now, what are practices based on those principles? And Krishna is giving some practices to understand that there's an ultimate goal. I remember before I became a devotee, and I'm still trying to become a devotee, but before I became a devotee, I had a so-called friend, associate more like it, who said, last night I achieved samadhi on a Coke bottle for 3 hours. I thought, well, okay, what's the use of that? But in other words, he withdrew his senses from all other, he said, from all other agitation and fixed it on one point. Samadhi on a Coke bottle. But there is an ultimate goal. There is the idea that the transcendence. I remember Jayadvaita Swami was visiting San Diego one time. And there was a group of nudists that came. They wore clothing out of courtesy for us. For those of us on a lower platform, they wore clothing. But the funny thing is, and there's beautiful Radha Giridhari, and in front of them there's a burbling fountain. Jayadvaita Swami, great lecture, of course. Time for questions. The leader of this group of yogis said, and they were all steeped in impersonalism, the yogi asked, leader of the yogis, what is the significance of the sound of the fountain? The fountain, somehow or other it's the key to opening the home and om, or what, who knows what he was thinking. Jayadvaita Swami said, the significance of the sound of the fountain is that it's pleasing to the transcendental senses of the Supreme Lord who's standing behind the fountain. But so that the idea that there's actually Krishna, he's a transcendental person, Rishikesha Rishikanam, that we're meant to please the senses of the Supreme Lord, this is a whole new concept. And that success of accumulation is to cleanse my heart. So the point I wanted, so those are principles. The point I wanted to make is usually that's accomplished, it's described here, by rigid practice, by lifetimes of pious activities. Madhuvisa Prabhu asked Srila Prabhupada, quoting this verse that we read today, and the verse that's referenced in the purport, Madhuvisa asked, he said, Prabhupada, it says that, these two things like gas and clutch. All my sinful reactions, are eradicated, and I have a huge stack of pious deeds with those two qualifications, free as it says here from contamination, purified state. Such a person can take the devotional service, right? That's the criteria for entering into the door of devotional service. But Madhavi said, Prabhupada, till the day I met you, what to speak of pious activities? I didn't have any pious activities. I was eating McDonald's till the day I met you. So how is it possible that I become a devotee? Prabhupada said, I have created your good fortune. I have created your good fortune. And then Prabhupada said, and all I ask in return is that you go and create good fortune for others. So this is the process. Ultimately, how does the whole thing begin? Well, there has to be some Shraddha, and Shraddha comes Sadhu Sangha, from Sadhu Sangha, it marches its all the way up to Krishna Prem. But there has to be Shraddha initially. Well, where does the seed of Shraddha come from? It comes from Agyata Sukriti. It comes from unknowingly, somehow or other, offering some devotional service. The Prabhupada tells the story of the mouse. The ghee lamp was going out, and he went on the altar to drink the ghee, and his whisker caught on fire, and it caused the wick to start up again. And he got the benefit of that, of offering a arti, devotional service. So ultimately, we have to, by causeless mercy, we encounter a devotee, we offer a little bit of service, we casually hear the holy name, whatever it may be, and our process begins to develop Shraddha, and then up the ladder we start. So the point I'm trying to make is that we have been delivered. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy. This is Srila Prabhupada, without any qualification. We have no, rather we're heaped. It's a symptom of the age of Kali. We have so many disqualifications. But we have received causeless mercy. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could not make it easier. Open your mouth and say Hare Krishna. And if you can't say Hare Krishna, the devotees will stuff a samosa in, and they'll take some Mahaprasad. It could not be easier. So what is our obligation for having received such? There is an obligation. What is that obligation? Other than Shuddhi. Anyone can say? I just said it. We have received causeless mercy. You have to give it to others. That is the process. Okay, we can end there. We're a few minutes beforehand, and I have to run. Any question? Don't be shy. Yes, Prue.
It seems that any kind of giving can help people, because I know when I first started coming to the temple, some of the people that our little high school friends were making fun, and they would go, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, and they were singing it. And they did this for like a couple weeks in a row right outside a woman's house who had a baby. Well, anyway, that child became a devotee. So,
There's so many far out stories. Yep. You just start somewhere, somehow or other. Any other question? All right. Oh, okay.
So you say about spreading Krishna consciousness.
Your auntie? Go ahead.
So I was wondering, is there like is there any kind of any way? I mean, I know it's like distributing books is one. Is there anything else that we could do in a way like somebody who's unexperienced with the Krishna consciousness to help other people?
I was sitting in Prabhupada's room one time, and Prabhupada said, I've given you the structure, just go and decorate it. And then Prabhupada said, actually, I've given you the decorations, just go and hang them. So everybody wants to do something new. There was a devotee, well, I'll say his name, Narayana Baram. You know Narayana Baram? A little eccentric. For Arti, instead of offering a flower, he offered one of those, we call it sparklers in America. You know, it's just the sticks. So the devotees, they were not too sure about that. So they asked Srila Prabhupada, what about this offering a sparkler? Prabhupada said, no. It should have a nice fragrance. You know, it shouldn't smell like gunpowder, you know? You offer a nice, fragrant flower. Prabhupada said, a flower without fragrance is like a handsome man without good qualities. So nice, fragrant. So we don't have to invent anything new, you know? I mean, there's plenty of room for creative intelligence. But it shouldn't just, what does Prabhupada say? Walk on your hands, bark like a dog, but do something new. You know, it's our fetish. But distribute prasadam. Everybody can distribute prasadam. Anybody can go out on the Harinam party. If somehow or other you've got no arms and no legs. Jayananda. I spent a day once with Jayananda. I was a new bhakti. It was the San Francisco Ratha Yatra. We all went up from the LA temple to help in the Ratha Yatra. And I was 17 and a half, And he was in his early 30s, something like that, you know, but he worked all of us into the ground. I was exhausted. I mean, it was fun. I never had a nicer day in my life. First class prasadam on a little, you know, camp stove. He cooked up fantastic prasadam, had a bunch of, we were brahmacharis. An army runs on its stomach, Prabhupada said, quoting Napoleon. So we had a great time. But I remember we got back to the little San Francisco temple completely packed. I mean, literally, devotees lined up like cords of wood or in a parking places, just stacked up. And we got back late. It was like 10 o'clock, after 10, and there was nowhere to sleep. And I was, thinking about myself and rolling up my sleeping bag. And I noticed Jayananda was sleeping by the door. Now, the temple was, I forget the address, but there was a lot of traffic, and noise. So I thought, he's a senior devotee. I said, Jayananda, sleep over here. I'll sleep. He said, no. He said, I like sleeping by the door. I said, why? He said, well, I don't really like to lie down. I don't like to stop serving, He said, but if I have to lie down, because the body will come to the point of exhaustion. He said, if I have to lie down, at least let me lie down by the front door. Because if someone tries to break in, because it was a rough neighborhood, if somebody tries to break in, it'll wake me up and I can guard the temple. So he had calculated how, even in the state, a somnolent state, even in sleeping, that laying his body down, that could be of service. I said, wow, this man is far out, transcendental, So there's, serve in ISKCON. We have a lady, she's passed away now. She was Prabhupada's oldest living disciple, Braja Badu. She was somewhere between 100 and 103. She'd lost count, literally. She used to call me, Badri, I lost my teeth. We'd have to send someone out to help her find her teeth, She's an old lady. She was an old lady. But she used to come. Whenever she could get a ride, she would sweep the temple patio in San Diego. And the brahmacharis would say, Mataji, please come, we'll do it. No, it was her service. And she would sweep and rest. Sweep and rest. So she would start at 10 o'clock in the morning. She'd come in time for Bhagavatam class, Darshan Arti, Bhagavatam class, take a little bit of prasadam, start sweeping. Break for lunch, start sweeping. Break for the 4 o'clock hour, and finish the patio by in time to go at evening arti, and then someone would drive her home. She spent her entire day, sweep, rest, sweep, rest. But, that she could do. She's half blind, deaf, but that she could do, So somehow or other, put your shoulder to the wheel. Best, distribute books, distribute the holy name, go out. Best to go, it'll be good for you too. If we just stay in-house, there's something they call in America cabin fever. Familiarity breeds contempt. We find fault with the devotees, we find fault with the temple, so many things, When you go out and preach, it clears the head. You think, geez, the devotees are great compared to these people, And you get it's so many ways. It purifies the heart, so many ways. So best to go out, distribute books, distribute the holy name, distribute prasadam. Prabhupada's given us the decorations, just go and hang them. But whatever we can do, somehow or other, put our shoulder to the wheel and push ISKCON forward. Prabhupada gave his life for this movement. The famous statement, Prabhupada said, so I was in the room. Someone said to Prabhupada, oh, can you tell us about incarnation of Krishna? Prabhupada said, this ISKCON movement is an incarnation of Krishna. And he's come again to save the world. I'm not blind. I'm a member of the GBC. There's faults in ISKCON. There's problems. I'm not naive. Somebody sent, it's a whole story, I'll spare you it. But somebody, Gaudiya Math, South India, John Mastami, read an article about criticizing some of the devotees' behavior in Japan. The devotees had done some unethical things. They were stealing stuff and selling it and giving the money to, book distribution or something like that. And they were caught, So this guy, anyway, whatever, I don't want to, but was reading John Mastami, Fault with ISKCON. It came to Prabhupada's attention. Prabhupada's response was, to do this on John Mastami, what kind of person does that? But anyway, Prabhupada said, at least we've got something in Japan. Maybe it's, what if you don't even have anything? You're Jagat Guru and you haven't left your village. At least we have something in Japan. It may be faulty, could be improved, but at least we've got something. So whatever. You got to bet. ISKCON is the best game in town. Prabhupada gave his life to it. Sure, improve it, fix it. The best way to improve it and fix it, Prabhupada wrote me personally a letter, is to set a personal example. I was sitting, we got a few minutes. I was sitting with Narayana Swami in Mayapur, and a devotee came up, who will remain nameless, and he went off on everything. The GBC, okay, I'm used to that. These ISKCON gurus, okay, I'm used to that. Temple president, okay, I'm used to that. Then he went off on the householders, he went off on the brahmacharis, he went off Kanista congregation, he went off on everybody. I was thinking, the only element of ISKCON this man is not offended is the cows. And then he said, and that is cow, but he went off on the cows. I said, this guy's a perfect storm. He's a perfect trifecta. He's managed to offend everything, I'm a passionate person. I was ready to strangle him. But Narayana Swami, saintly person, was just took it all in. When the guy finally ran out of steam, I said, I was thinking, what is Narayana Swami going to say to this guy? Narayana Swami said, I can understand that you are expert at finding fault. He said, I think if you study your own heart, you will find sufficient subject matter. Is that a great answer? I thought, oh, Maharaj, I told him, I said, Dad, because, in America they say, you're waving your finger at somebody, but 3 of them are coming back to you, I know for myself, outside of our duty, if you're a temple president, temple commander, head of the kitchen, you've got to correct the head pujari, you've got to correct and advise within the parameters of that particular service. But other than that, I have enough. Just work on my own heart. So if you just work on your own heart and find some nook and corner somewhere to push the Prabhupada's movement, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission forward, don't overthink it. I'll leave you with one last picture. Who have I not picked on? Mataji, would you please touch your nose? Oh, don't speak English. Espanol? How do you say nose? Tocar su... Oh, there, okay. Touch your nose. Okay, fine. Touch your nose, Prabhu. No, you're all wrong. Yep. It's Prabhupada's example, we make everything so just touch your nose. What's the problem? Follow the principles. Prabhupada's given us his ISKCON boat. Get married, don't get married. Sannyasi, inside, outside, whatever. Find a way, chant 16 rounds minimum, follow the regular principles, serve the Vaishnavas, serve the ISKCON movement, somehow or other, some nook and corner, and go back to Godhead. What's the problem? Okay, we can end there. Thank you very much.